This is a movie where most of the problems could have been avoided if the main character just sat down and shut up. Hello everyone, Merry Christmas and welcome to another festive rewind review. In this video we are taking a look at a movie that at one point in time was very special to me, and I'll tell you why later. And that movie is The Polar Express. Released in 2004 and based on the book by Chris van Allsburg, the movie sees a young boy on Christmas Eve embarking on a magical adventure to the North Pole on the Polar Express, while learning about friendship, bravery and the spirit of Christmas. Directed by Robert Zemeckis, who co-writes alongside William Broyles Jr., the movie stars Tom Hanks, Nona Gay, Peter Scolari, Leslie Zemeckis, Eddie Deason, Josh Hutcherson, Daryl Sabara, Hayden McFarland and Michael Jetta. Whenever somebody gets asked what their favourite Christmas movie is, the usual answers are things like The Muppets Christmas Carol, Elf, Home Alone, The Nightmare Before Christmas, Die Hard. Yes, it is. It's a Wonderful Life, Love Actually, Krampus. Yes, there are some people who do say that. But, and quite surprisingly, you very rarely hear people say this. Now, I wouldn't necessarily say that this is one of my absolute favourite Christmas movies, but as I said a few minutes ago, this movie does hold a very special place for me. And that's because back when this movie was first released, this movie got me to believe in Santa again. When this movie first came out, I was in a very similar place to the main character at the start of the film. And I remember, I think it was like the 23rd of December or something like that. And I stayed up late with my mum to watch this on DVD. So Christmas Day of 2004 comes around, I go downstairs and I start opening all my presents. And then right in the centre of them was this little tiny silver box in a ribbon. And that box was addressed to me from Father Christmas. And of course I got really excited and I opened the box up and inside was a little bell that was very similar to the one that's in the film. Yeah, that restored my belief in Santa Claus for a good few years after that. So yes, even though this movie is not my favourite Christmas movie, it is still special to me. Thing is though, I actually haven't seen this movie in quite some time. I mean, even though this movie is quite special to me, outside of a few scenes, I don't remember everything that happens in this. So it was a really interesting experience getting to revisit this movie after so many years, and even though I do think that there are some elements that are a little bit dated, I do still think that it does hold some magic. The story of The Polar Express is about a young boy who is losing his belief in Santa Claus, and on Christmas Eve night, a mysterious train known as the Polar Express arrives on his doorstep to whisk him and a handful of other kids off to the North Pole to meet the man himself. And along the way, he and his new friends face perils and magic and learn some very valuable life lessons. It's very straightforward, and the actual story for this movie is actually quite simple. To be honest, this doesn't really have much of a story. Instead, this movie is much more focused on the main character, his dilemma and his waning belief. It's not a complicated movie in any way, and I do think that that is a good benefit because it does mean that it is open and it is accessible to everyone of every age. Anyone can watch this movie and enjoy it. It's accessible, the messages are easy to understand, and the characters are easy to identify with. There's only really a handful of characters that appear in this, and none are exactly complicated. In fact, most of them don't even have names. For example, the lead character in this is just credited as Hero Boy. The irony being that Hero Boy causes most of the problems that they have to fix, like the ticket getting blown away because he picks it up and tries to cross carriages, and the entire runaway carriage sequence is because he accidentally clips the coupler. Seriously, if he just sat down, enjoyed his hot chocolate, stared out the window, did as he was told, then everything would have been good. I mean, nothing interesting would have happened, but it would have solved so many problems. Anyway, in my opinion, there isn't really much to the characters and they can feel a little bit one-dimensional, which is a bit of a double-edged sword for me, as on one hand, yeah, they definitely could have spent a little bit more time with the characters, fleshing them out and developing them more, so that the lessons that they learn by the end of the movie actually do feel properly earned. But on the other hand, as I said, it does make them and their stories accessible and easy to understand across all age groups. So I am a little bit split there. That is, apart from the self-proclaimed King of the North Pole, who, I'll be honest, I'm not entirely sure what he's supposed to be. Is he a ghost? Is he the manifestation of Hero Boy's disbelief? Is he a representation of the boy's dad? After all, they are both played by Tom Hanks. I have absolutely no idea, and it is left completely up to your own interpretation. I like that there is a bit of mystery there. It is intriguing, even if they don't provide any answers. Performance-wise, I think that everyone does do a really good job with their roles and the part of each role that they play. I'll be honest, it did confuse me reading the cast listing for this movie because I wasn't actually aware just how many people actually played each character. Pretty much every character in this movie has multiple actors doing different aspects of what it is that they need to do to bring them to life. Hero Boy, for instance, is played and voiced by Tom Hanks in one of 6 roles that he plays in this. And when I say that he's voiced by Tom Hanks, I do mean the older version of him that's narrating everything. But the young Hero Boy's voice is provided by Daryl Sabara. And there was additional motion capture performance work from Josh Hutcherson. I had no idea that those two were involved in this movie. That was really cool finding that out. It is a bit confusing confusing, as I said, but also everyone in this movie, I do think, does do a really good job with each of their roles, especially Tom Hanks in all of the roles that he plays in this. The motion capture performers do a very good job of making the characters feel and move realistically, and when it comes to the voice performers as well, they are chosen very well and do provide some excellent vocals. With the exception of the know-it-all kid. He got on my nerves. I get that's the idea, but I don't know. Anyway, even though this movie isn't a musical, I think that the voice performers nail each song pretty well too, especially Megan Moore and Matt Hall, who sing When Christmas Comes to Town. That is a beautiful song. The music and the overall soundtrack from composer Alan Silvestri is genuinely beautiful. It does have a very nostalgic sound to it, and the main theme especially you will definitely recognise. It's magical, it gives you this really great sense of wonder, and I do like how it weaves in a load of classic Christmas tunes. The songs that are featured in this movie, as I said, some of them are absolutely beautiful, including the original songs as well. But as soon as the characters do start singing in this movie, it does catch you off guard a little bit because, as I said, this movie is not a musical, so when they do start singing, it is a bit of a surprise. But that's not to undermine just how beautiful and nice some of these songs are. Like, there's a full-on dance sequence when they have hot chocolate, and it kind of comes out of nowhere, and then it ends just as fast. It's a creative sequence, I'll give them that, but I did have a moment when I was watching this when I just went, what's going on? Same thing with the toy carriage as well, and that pretty freaky looking Scrooge puppet that is unnecessarily scary for a family film. Again, it comes out of nowhere. Oh yeah, and the lead singer from Aerosmith has a little cameo in this as an elf because why not? It's so random, but it is funny. To be fair, this movie does have some legitimately funny moments. Anyway, randomness aside, the animation and overall look of this movie is absolutely dazzling and incredibly well detailed for something that came out in 2004. Don't forget, this is the first full-length feature film to be made completely using motion capture technology, and it does look amazing. Absolutely, and there is no way that I can avoid saying this. It is dated by today's standards with some very slightly weird uncanny valley effects, and the characters don't always express themselves or emote properly, but back then, this was amazing. From the reflections on glasses to the way that steam and water react to things, the frosting on the windows, stuff in the background, the way that light is used, crowds of elves or reindeer, this is incredibly well detailed and always has something eye-catching on screen. It has this slightly hazy sort of nostalgic kind of look to it, which is quite similar to something that you'd see in like a fantasy movie. I do think that it does help this movie look a little bit better. The movie has this really nice warm fireplace kind of glow to it, and it's got some really bright and vibrant colours that pop on screen, and it feels very reminiscent of like a Christmas card or a picture book. Almost every frame of this movie is like a work of art. It looks incredible, and there are some very creative sequences. One of my favourite shots in this movie is a sequence where the main character is reading a book, and the camera angle is like positioned like it's coming through the page so the words that he's reading are on screen. I thought that was really cool. The cinematography that is featured in the Polar Express is the reason why this movie is made with CG technology, because there are some things that they do in this that would be absolutely impossible to do in live action. I mean, they'd give it a good go, but I don't think that it would be anywhere near as creative. And I've got to say, as someone who doesn't suffer from motion sickness, there are sequences in this that are dizzying. There's several long one-take sequences where the camera swoops and weaves around the carriages. We get POV shots from the front of the train like a roller coaster, and one sequence when Hero Girl's ticket gets blown away and the camera follows it through forests, down waterfalls, into a bird's nest. It goes on way longer than it needs to, but it is creative. Don't forget, this movie is one of the earliest movies that was showcased in IMAX 3D, and it was made completely using motion capture technology. So I do think that a large chunk of it and a large chunk of the scenes featured in this are used purely to show off what the technology can do. But it is impressive, and it does make for some very creative sequences that, again, you could not do in live action. I haven't seen this movie in IMAX, I haven't seen this movie in 3D either, but I would like to. By all accounts, this is an amazing movie to see in either of those formats purely for that experience. Overall, while not an amazing movie, this is really good and honestly worth seeing around Christmas time. This is quite short. They definitely could have done with expanding on certain things like the characters and the lessons that they learn, plus the effects by today's standards are a little bit dated. That said, the performances across the board are very good and perfect for each character. The motion capture work, the visual effects and lighting are really good, with some highly creative cinematography and imaginative sequences that look dazzling. The music is beautiful and the songs, while a little out of place, are really nice, and the sound design is really good too. For its time, this was a very ambitious experiment, and in my opinion, it did pay off and laid the foundations for what motion capture movies would grow into. This is a movie that I think that everyone should at least check out once, especially kids. They will enjoy this and it will fire up their imaginations. It does have a few partially spooky, mysterious moments, but it's nothing too bad. I do think that younger viewers will be absolutely fine with this. This is a really good family Christmas movie that has a timeless story and message, and still does hold some magic. It isn't my favourite Christmas movie, as I said, but it does hold a special place in my heart, and I am glad that I rewatched this. So with all that being said, my rating for The Polar Express is a 7 out of 10. Well, that is pretty much everything I want to say for this video, so if you have watched this video, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoy this content, please like, subscribe, and be sure to hit that notification button. If you have seen The Polar Express, let me know down in the comments what you think about it. Plus, if you have any suggestions for any future rewind reviews or recommendations you would like to see me do, let me know down below. And let me know, if you had a trip on The Polar Express, what word would get punched into your ticket? I think mine would probably be confidence, because I do think that that is something that I still need to improve, but I'm getting there. But until next time, thank you very much for watching, Merry Christmas, and I'll see you in the next video. See you guys.